I stared at the DNA results from my son's science project, and my entire world crumbled in that moment. My husband Jake and I had been married for 12 years. We met in college, got married right after graduation, and tried for kids immediately. It took us 5 long years of fertility treatments, heartbreak, and hope before our miracle baby Tyler finally arrived. Jake was over the moon. He'd always wanted to be a dad, and watching him with Tyler those first few months was pure magic. Our neighbor Marcus moved in next door when Tyler was about 3. Divorced guy, no kids of his own, but he was great with Tyler. Always offering to help with yard work, bringing over cookies, joining us for backyard barbecues. Jake loved having another guy around to talk sports with. I thought we were lucky to have such a wonderful neighbor. Marcus became like family. Tyler called him Uncle Marcus. When Jake traveled for work, Marcus would check on us. When we went on vacation, he'd water our plants and collect our mail. The perfect neighbor, the perfect friend. Last month, Tyler came home excited about his 8th grade biology project. They were studying genetics and inherited traits. Each student had to create a family tree showing physical characteristics passed down through generations. Eye color, hair texture, height patterns. Basic stuff. Tyler was fascinated. He spent weeks measuring everyone, taking photos, comparing features. Jake has brown eyes and dark hair. I have green eyes and blonde hair. Tyler has brown eyes like his dad, but his hair has this distinctive reddish tint that neither Jake nor I have. "Mom, where does my red hair come from?" Tyler asked one evening, holding up family photos. I laughed it off. Maybe great-grandma Rose. She had auburn hair in old photos. But Tyler was determined to solve the mystery. His teacher had mentioned that students could do optional DNA testing if parents consented. One of those ancestry kits. Tyler begged us for weeks. Jake was hesitant. What if we find out something we don't want to know? I remember thinking he was being paranoid. What could we possibly find out? We're his parents. So we said yes. 3 weeks later, Tyler burst through the front door waving papers. "Mom. The results came back. This is so cool." I was making dinner, barely paying attention as he spread charts across the kitchen table. Then his voice changed. "Mom, this is weird. According to this, Dad isn't actually my biological father." The wooden spoon fell from my hand. "What do you mean, sweetie?" "Look, the DNA shows I share markers with you, but none with Dad. And there's this weird thing, it says I have a close genetic match with someone else in the database. Someone named Marcus Chen." The room started spinning. Marcus Chen. Our neighbor Marcus. "That has to be a mistake," I whispered. But Tyler kept talking, reading from the report with scientific excitement. "It says there's a 99.7% probability that Marcus Chen is my biological father. Isn't that crazy? What are the odds our neighbor would be in the same database?" I grabbed the papers with shaking hands. There it was, in black and white. Undeniable genetic proof that my son, my miracle baby, belonged to Marcus. My mind raced back 8 years. Jake's work trips. Marcus always being around. That summer when Jake was gone for 3 weeks on a project in Denver. Marcus helping me with everything. Cooking dinner together. Staying late to help fix Tyler's broken crib. The night I was feeling so alone and overwhelmed. The night Marcus comforted me. The night I made the biggest mistake of my life. I'd buried it so deep I'd almost convinced myself it never happened. It was just once. Just one moment of weakness when I was exhausted and lonely and Jake felt like a stranger. But Tyler's genetics don't lie. I sent Tyler to his room and called in sick to work. I sat at that kitchen table staring at those results until Jake came home. "Hey babe, how was your day?" He kissed my forehead like he had 1,000 times before. I couldn't speak. I just handed him the papers. I watched my husband's face change as he read. Confusion, then understanding, then devastation. Is this real? I nodded, tears streaming down my face. How long have you known? I just found out today. Jake, I swear, I had no idea. Don't. His voice was ice cold. Don't lie to me. You knew there was a possibility. He was right. Deep down, I'd always known. Tyler's features that didn't match ours. His personality quirks that reminded me of Marcus. The way Marcus looked at Tyler sometimes, with such intense love and pride. Jake packed a bag that night. He's staying at his brother's place while we figure out what comes next. But I wasn't going to let Marcus get away with this. He'd been living next door for 5 years, watching Tyler grow up, knowing he was his son. Never saying a word. Playing the perfect neighbor while my marriage crumbled under the weight of my guilt and his secret. I marched over to his house the next morning. We need to talk. Marcus took one look at my face and let me in. I threw the DNA results on his coffee table. You knew. He didn't even try to deny it. I suspected. Tyler looks just like I did as a kid. But I wasn't sure. You've been living next door to your son for 5 years and you never said anything? What was I supposed to say? You were married. You seemed happy. I didn't want to destroy your family. Well, congratulations, Marcus. You destroyed it anyway. Here's where I got my revenge. See, Marcus works as an accountant for a prestigious firm downtown. Very conservative, family values company. I did some digging and found out he'd been lying on his tax returns for years, claiming deductions for a dependent child that didn't officially exist, our Tyler. I also discovered he'd been collecting child support from his ex-wife for a son that wasn't biologically his either. His whole life was built on genetic lies. I reported him to the IRS for tax fraud. I contacted his ex-wife with DNA evidence proving her child support payments were based on false paternity. I sent anonymous tips to his employer about his character issues. Within 2 weeks, Marcus lost his job. The IRS froze his accounts pending investigation. His ex-wife sued him for every penny of support she'd paid over the years. But the real justice came from Tyler himself. When I finally told him the truth, that Marcus was his biological father, Tyler's reaction surprised me. I don't care about DNA, Mom. Dad is still my dad. He's the one who taught me to ride a bike and helped with homework and came to every soccer game. Marcus is just some guy who lives next door. Tyler chose Jake. Chose the man who raised him over the man who contributed genetics. Jake and I are in counseling now. It's hard work, rebuilding trust after such a massive betrayal. But we're trying. For Tyler, and for the 12 years of love that came before my one terrible mistake. Marcus moved away last month. New city, new start, probably new lies. I learned that biology doesn't make a family. Love does. Commitment does. Showing up every day does. Sometimes the worst betrayals come from our own choices. But justice isn't always about punishing others, sometimes it's about facing the truth and fighting for what really matters. Have you experienced something like this? Tell me in the comments.